welcome to Cockeyed and Curious. I'm going to talk today about Too Many Bones. I'm relatively new to Too Many Bones, and by relatively new, I mean to say that I've squandered many hours. I mean, I've thrown in a lot of time already into this game. Though, given how much content this game supplies in the form of varying Gearlock combinations and tyrants that you need to conquer, and the encounters to well encounter, I still feel like a neophyte. If you're new to Too Many Bones, then know that Gearlocks are the good guys, and that you're a Gearlock when you play the game. And keep in mind that they could be sinister, sadistic, gnome-like beasts that are devouring catbird families as they watch depraved porn during the day rather than handling whatever their day jobs are supposed to be. This entire roaming the realm bit of their days being nothing more than a ruse to get them away from their home as debt collectors come a-knocking. I know not. But given their penchant for loot and their simplifying their worldview as of all life being categorized as gearlocks or baddies, I suspect that they fall victim to the belief that they're all like Luke Skywalker, even though they've raised more than a handful of villages. Accidentally, of course. So specifically, I'm looking at you, Boomer. Boomer is the grenadier of the group. You need to picture an eccentric, always scrambling for components that will help uptick a boom counter, as she puts it. And you'll understand how sketchy she seems to be. Pyro much? No, no, no. She doesn't burn down homes. She levels them. Okay, so I mentioned tyrants. They're the big wigs. You traipse through days of encounters to build up your experience so that you can kill one of these ultimate baddies. And today, as you'll see, I took down Duster, which is a little bit confusing as you get into the game, because Duster is also a Gearlock, or rather, becomes a Gearlock in an expansion. I don't really read the source material, so I don't know the ins and outs of everything. The world is confusing and hectic, and I'm a simple man who puppets Gearlocks through circular grids of mayhem. I don't really get into the political realm. I just know right now I'm, as I put it, Boomer, and I'm also going to be Gilly, and we're going to take down Duster. That's our goal. Okay, so whenever I play Too Many Bones, I end up lamenting about all the bones that I throw. In your mind, insert whatever obligatory joke about there being too many bones. I'm not going to make the joke for you, but whatever joke you have, well, we've all made it, and we've all heard it. So let's just get that bit over with now, okay? There's a lot of fucking bones. One more thing to mention. So, as I indicated, I'm going after Duster. Here she is. Apparently she's an assassin, is on the prowl to uncover something or another. I don't know. All I know is that she's gonna be dead soon. Murderous thoughts here. Parents, maybe keep your kids away from board games? I'll also add that given my penchant for bones, so many bones, I try to play this game while Kelly, my girlfriend, is asleep. She cowers whenever Bones hits the table, given just how many bones she has to suffer through whenever I play this game. I've already said bones during this narrative more than 10 times, and it gets worse the more you play. Bones on bones. So this is the battle map. Outside of an expansion, every battle takes place on this 4x4 grid. I'm using Gilly and Boomer, and you can train Gilly to use traps, which is a fancy way of saying that you collect dice as you play the game, and they do things. These dice on the board are traps. 2 are being applied to the location where the poker chip that represents Duster shall be placed, and actually has already been placed since the game enables you to anticipate starting locations for baddies, including tyrants. And 1 trap is awaiting a future baddie in the spot to the right. Another thing I like to share is that earlier in the game, I earned this card that lets me double the number of attack dice that I roll. This is huge. And once I got this card, I realized that the remainder of the game would simply involve me waiting to accrue enough points to be adept enough to trigger the final battle outcome. You see, in Bones, you're building up prestige, essentially, that then enables you to locate and slay the tyrant of the day, or at least try to do so. Autopilot has been effectively turned on as soon as I saw this card. Muddle through the days, and then hope for a lucky roll, which, given the dice I had earned by this point, already meant all I would need to roll during the end would just be a middling roll. So here's an example of dice rolling. Notice the supplements of the wrist. You roll a lot of dice in this game. Dice on dice, rolling, rolling, rolling down the river, all recast as rolling dice. You need to make sure you maintain the fluidity of your movement as you roll them. And I'll note that sometimes the dice are your friend, sometimes they're jerks. Here, my strategy is facing its first roadblock. The die on the right with the crossbones is, well, it's bones. Bones. And this means that my trap that was to make Duster not hit as hard as she could otherwise came up empty. It failed. My whole strategy, you see, involves Gilly, one of my Gearlocks, not getting killed. I'm used to disappointment, fortunately, and sadly. You see, here's an avocado that opened up earlier today. This was the saddest moment of the day. Probably will be the saddest moment of the week. I'll admit that I licked the pit. Upon seeing the enormous depression in the non-pit side of the avocado, an enormous depression overtook me as well. So lick I did. I didn't know what else to do. Afterward, I looked like a cat licking a Sour Patch Kid. Now you see what it's like to apply dice. Yes, one die does go back to the mat. If I hadn't rolled crap, the die would go on the Duster to show that she now hits less hard. Given that it's a solo game, I'm tempted to pretend like I had rolled something else, but no, cheating oneself is bad, as per years of societal brainwashing has taught me, so off the die goes to its bones repository. One of the dice is a meat-style trap that chunks off 2 hit points from Duster and shifts her spot to the side. Given that there's a baddie to her left, she gets flung into the 20-point trap to her right. You see, baddies are classified as 1, 5, or 20-point baddies. Tyrants like Duster, they exceed the scale. They have no scale. They're tyrants. Thus, this 20-point trap does nothing against her, and it is sprung and then leaves the board. I'll also mention that I'm feeling rather cocksure at the moment. On the upper right, up there, you can see that the initiative track of the round has been set. Boomer is ahead of Gilly. I don't need Boomer to do anything. She's unnecessary. She's actually on her own quite powerful. She has frag grenades and all other sorts of ballistic madness that await her oil-encrusted fingertips. Yet she's unnecessary. All I need is Gilly. To demonstrate that Boomer's got a lot going on, here's what the character pads look like for Gilly as well as Boomer. Dice everywhere. So many dice. And loot, that's the cards along the top. So many loot, lots of loot. All of it sans meaning at the moment, for I have a plan. It doesn't involve almost any of this, and it's going to be golden, and that'll soon be crimson-hued underneath the mass of Duster's entrails. Parents, don't discount what these games do to people's minds. You'll see that on Gilly's mat that I placed the defective trap roll from earlier, the bones. It's in the backup plan of the mat. Bones can be made into alternate successes during the game. So it's not necessarily lost when a roll goes haywire. You have them as these bones for future plans as part of the backup plan. So anyway, despite Boomer's busy mouse pad of a character sheet with all kinds of opportunities to inflict mayhem on the baddies, I'm going to set her out to pasture. Okay, so I've moved Duster into attack position, and she's attacking Gilly. I have no idea why I didn't have her attack Boomer, because Gilly's more important in this scenario for me than than Boomer, but I did what I did. I like to spit at danger, have it smack me around. So I believe, that a higher power wants us to butcher this assassin named Duster, and I'm going to tempt fate all the while. Okay, so here's the roll. Okay, so she got some armor, that's cool. She's going to do 2 points of damage, and then there's this dagger symbol springing out of the shadows. I'm going to go ahead and remove the health, and let's check out the dagger symbol. Okay. And that's what you do a lot in Bones. You're looking up resource sheets to figure out what does what. You get used to it and you start to memorize things, but initially you have to consult. And so this symbol causes Gilly to spill 1 poker chip of blood at the start of each turn. So Gilly is definitely not long for the world. But going into this encounter, Gilly had 5 hit points, lost 2 from Duster, and we can expect to lose 1 more when the turn starts. Thus we have a 1 hit point buffer dividing life from death at play. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to place the bleed effect on Gilly to remind me of my own mortality. The other thing that I'll mention is Duster also forces you to lose an attribute die each round. Given that death is imminent for this gear lock, I'll remove the die associated with defense. Cue countless speeches given by American football coaches about the best defense being a strong offense and that concussions and brain damage are temporary given the ephemeral nature of the human condition. And with that passed, I also have to roll for this Ungulf baddie at the top who goes before Gilly. Note that I am ignoring Boomer as I said I would, for she's hanging out on a plush couch in a cockroach-infested dungeon. If I roll a 2 with this baddie's attack, all is lost. And it's a 1, so everything's good. And the baddie can attack from afar because it's a ranged baddie. There's ones that have to be next to you and ones that don't. This one can attack from afar. Okay, here's the roll that I've been anticipating. Duster has 7 life, plus these 2 shields that I rolled that I put on top of the chip. So I need to roll a 9 or higher. Okay, whoa, there's a lot of dice I get to roll. So I had 3 attack dice from my character sheet, and each attack die, you get an extra die because of that card I showed you earlier. And then I have a skill die that doubles the damage of rolled attack dice, and another die that usually gives you at least a +1 damage. It can be more, but we're just going to assume +1 for now. And adding up this roll, I rolled a 13. So Duster is donezo. Now I'd like to note that most battles are not this simple. This ending was simply absurd, given that I drew that 1 card. Now, please do tell me in the comments if that's even a feature. I'm still learning this thing. If I messed up and how I did so. Anyway, thanks everyone. Take care.
What the hell?
God, it's fucking edgy.